Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second speaker session of this afternoon. My name is Miriam Adikal, and I'm a member of the Western Mustangs rugby team. This session will last about 40 minutes, and speakers will take a 15-minute break at the end to answer a few questions. I encourage you to use the chat function to generate conversations and questions. This is how you will communicate. Only presenters and moderators will have access to audio and visual components. Please use the chat function, ensuring sessions chat is selected to communicate, and ask questions throughout the session. I am pleased to invite Vickie San O'hara to speak to us about a work-life balance. Vickie San O'hara is a 3-time Olympian and 8-time IIHF World Champion All-Star. She competed for Team Canada in ice hockey at Nago, Salt Lake City, and Turin Winter Olympics. Vickie led her teams to multiple gold and silver medals throughout her career. She was inducted into the Toronto Sports Hall of Fame, Hall of Honor in 2018 and 2019. She's appointed Honorary Lieutenant Colonel of the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada, which is a primary reserve regiment in the Canadian Armed Forces. After winning the gold medal in ice hockey in 2006 Winter Olympics, Vickie and her team were inducted into the Canadian Olympic Hall of Fame in 2012. Vickie is presently head coach of the University of Toronto women's hockey team, this year being her 9th season with the team. Vickie has also been named the assistant coach of the women's national hockey team set to play at the World Championships in Halifax, Ontario, Nova Scotia in May. Today, Vickie will share how to create a balance between living life to the fullest and working in sport. We are thrilled to welcome Vickie San O'hara. Vickie, the floor is all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Miriam. I really appreciate the introduction. Something that you didn't mention was I'm definitely not that experienced in presenting online, so everybody bear with me. I'm going to do my best for sure. So I think I just wanted to start by saying that I'm honored to be a part of this staying in the game pathway, because this conference, I think it's really important, that we all follow our passion. So I really appreciate it. I am going to now try to share my screen. Let's see my entire screen. Here we go. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, you're all good.
Okay, awesome. So, as I said, I'm really excited to speak, at this conference, and I've put a lot of thought into work-life balance, and I was thinking that the best way that I share kind of my story, as if I go back and talk about work-life balance as a player, and work-life balance as a coach. So I'm going to start to talk about how it started for me. So just how it began. My dad loved hockey, and he introduced hockey to me when I was 1.5. He had me playing in my basement. He had me skating out in the backyard or at our community rink that he had built and he had kept maintained. So between that, putting a stick in my hand in the basement, and then helping me and teaching me how to skate when I was 2.5, it's really where it all began. My passion for the game. I absolutely loved playing, whether it be on or off the ice. And my earliest memories of playing with my dad, they started quite young. He got me involved in a boys' league where he was my coach. unfortunately, as my coach, he passed away when I was 7 years old. So I just, I think that even having him instill this, in getting me and just in introducing me to the game, my passion started. And even when I lost him, it continued. So I played in the boys league. I played minor hockey in Scarborough. I continued to play. I got a scholarship to Northeastern University and left actually my full scholarship and continued my playing career at the University of Toronto. And it was at this time in about 1990 when I joined the national team. So I played and started with the national team program in 1990 and continued to play for many years. I had the fortunate experience of playing in our national team program for 18 years. And in that time, I didn't really see myself transitioning into a coach. I had instructed at some hockey camps, but during my time with the national team, it was actually one of my coaches, Mel Davidson, who introduced and got us, some of us who wanted to got us enrolled in some coaching courses. So I had taken some coaching courses, but again, always thought that I would be playing, never really coaching. And so moving forward, how it's going now, I did transition, into coaching and just kind of took on, that natural progression. But I'll continue to speak about my work as it relates to a player and how it relates to a coach and my life balances in a little bit. So through all this, and thinking about this presentation, I always think like work-life balance. Is there such a thing? I think that throughout coaching, throughout playing and balancing family life, it's one of the biggest challenges, that's for sure, in maintaining kind of a healthy balance. So as we move forward, I had this quote: there's no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices, and you make them, and they have consequences. So I'll speak about this as we go on, but to me, this quote really resonates with me because, I think it's pretty obvious. If you put too much time into your work, your life suffers. If you put too much time into your life and, different things, maybe your work could suffer. But if you find that and work towards that balance, I believe that you can make both work and be successful in both. So as a player, my work was basically training and competing. And near the end of my career, I went back to school. And in that time, I had to balance my family. I say elder care here because my mom was getting up there in age, obviously social life. And as a coach, there's many things to balance as well: practice, competing, travel, logistics. Everybody, for those that are already coaches on this call, that, coaching, it's a very broad, there's a lot of things that fall under that umbrella. I'll speak a little bit about them as I continue. So, some may look at this slide and look at, how do I put work in as a player? So I did play full time, playing with the national team. I was playing with the Brampton Thunder. Being able to do that took up many hours of a day. It really was my full-time job, except, as many of you know, playing for Team Canada or playing in somewhat of a professional women's league you're not really compensated as being a job. So, that's for another seminar, I think. But just in this time, I spent the time training, practicing, competing, traveling. And then near the end of my career, I went back to school to complete my degree. And obviously with going to school, playing actually in Brampton, and going to school in Toronto and living in Scarborough, it was quite a lot to juggle. And then balancing family. So this is a photo of myself with my mom and my mother-in-law and my sister and my mom after the Torino Olympics. As I said earlier, my work was basically playing, going to school, but my life, my responsibilities, taking care of my mom. She was battling dementia at the time, and just making sure that she was okay. She went to her appointments, and she was living on her own. So I did my best to take her. She was my biggest fan, so I picked her up and then took her out to Brampton almost 4 or 5 days a week. So that was I think it was a challenge, but it was also a blessing that I had that opportunity to spend so much time with her. So after I finished playing, what way was I going to go? I was very passionate about hockey. I was passionate about the game. I didn't really want to give it up, but it was coming. I was getting older and finished my degree, and it was what was next. And being older, I really thought about for many years, I have to start a family. I'm not getting any younger, so I decided to start my family and continue on. As I was pregnant, actually, I had the opportunity to take a position at the Hill Academy and directing their women's program there. It's a private school, and I had that opportunity to start the women's program. And yes, I was having kids in September, and yes, I was supposed to start playing, but of course I could do it. I really had no idea what it meant to bring children into the world, and so I had agreed to take this position on at the Hill Academy. So the Hill, I began at the Hill with, I didn't start right away. My kids were born in September, and I was supposed to start, but I gave it 4 months. And people always said, like, how could you go back to work with young kids? But playing with the national team program and going to school, it's not like I was in a full-time job position where I was going to get maternity leave or anything like that. So I really had to figure out how I was going to get back to work. So I went back to work when my kids were 4 months, and that job with the Hill Academy and a fortunate time period where a position at the University of Toronto as a full-time head coach opened up. And so that was kind of, my introduction. I had a short introduction to coaching at the Hill, and then I took on this full-time position at the University of Toronto. As I was speaking about earlier, the job, your job as a coach often is more than just practices and games. And, when you take on a position, especially coaching at a university, there's recruiting, fundraising, there's obviously logistics and travel, and nothing it's not a typical 9 to 5, but definitely if you're passionate about it and passionate about your student athletes being successful and your team's success, that you want to put forth as much as you can into that. And, along with that requires a lot of time in the evenings and the weekends, and definitely not a traditional 9 to 5. So balancing family and life with work is definitely a challenge. So these guys came along, and these I know they're a little bit older when I took on my position at the University of Toronto. But again, I thought and felt that, hey, I can do it. I can do anything. But there's no doubt a bit of a challenge when they were younger. Just being there, it was difficult to be away, and I was quite fortunate to have this support, and I know I showed in an early screen. And as much as I say, it was balancing and challenging to be a caregiver to my mom, my mother-in-law, who was battling breast cancer at the time as well. They were a huge support in taking care of my kids for when I was gone. And in earlier days, my partner, he took parental leave as well. So it was definitely, and in no way I want to say that this was all me, but definitely challenging times to balance work with these little guys at home and trying to be there for them. So parenting along with work was pretty difficult as well. I decided that I had so much time on my hands that I was going to be, help and be an assistant coach with their hockey team, be out and be supportive, be an active parent at their baseball. And so, as many of you can understand, it's not just, being there, it's traveling them, making sure they get to their events, whether it be the sports or, anything else that come up, trying to put that time in. So, it's not all your job. You make sure that you have time for your family. And just even in pandemic times this summer, we worked on cooking. And so we decided to get some HelloFresh meals. And so hopefully it definitely kept them busy, kept them involved in something else. But, it was really a wonderful time that we were able to spend together. So definitely looking at positives throughout this pandemic and the challenges it's given us. What you don't see here is the homework and the online schooling that sometimes are very time consuming. I really couldn't find any positive pictures or any pictures of them doing homework or me trying to, get them on online schooling that anybody was smiling. So, it was definitely a time of frustration, to say the least, but we're getting through that as well. Time, I didn't put social life as a player because most of my friends were my teammates. And so I had the opportunity to really spend time with them. And I didn't see it as so much my social life wasn't that much of a balancing act because we had time. We went out after games, or our other friends came to games, and we really did have the opportunity to spend a lot of time together. But, as you get older and you're working and you have your families and you have other responsibilities, it's not easy to fit in time for, friends, relationships, and things like that. So, again, important that we make time. And I just wanted to include this because I'm sure everybody can relate to having these times where you get together with your friends, and these times are often on Zoom or some kind of virtual platform. So just important, your friends are very important, and it's easy to find things that are, you get too busy in a day, but you really need to make time for them. Being a volunteer and being a community member is very important to me. And this is another part of balancing work, although it is often intertwined. Obviously here with me running hockey camps that I've done for over 20 years, you know, they're important to me to do this, to give back, to, you know, to help young female, young male hockey players to grow up and to continue playing the game. So community is plays a very important role in my life. It was mentioned in my introduction that I took on a role as honorary lieutenant colonel of the Queen's Own Rifles, and this opportunity actually came through hockey, and I accepted it. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to also help, you know, after learning more about the regiment and what they do, and just how amazing, you know, all the people uh, in the regiment are, and how they devote their lives to serve. Uh, you know, I wanted to do my small part, and you know, through this pandemic, it's been difficult to attend events, but you know, I'm hoping that, you know, with them having and bringing on a female honorary lieutenant colonel, that I could encourage women to think about maybe a position in the Army. So I do some work with that. So, you know, putting all this together, I think that it's really important that I include in this picture. I'm including, you know, if you see the circle in the top and the stands there, that's my family up there, and my kids are watching this. And this was our championship game this year. It's important that I bring them and I have them be a part of my job. And so I bring them to my office. I bring them to the rink. I actually put them on the ice sometimes when possible. I take them, you know, I take them on the road with me. They've come on some road trips with our team, and fortunately enough, our executive athletic director is very accommodating in that way. She really allows me to include my kids. So they've come on the bus with us. They've come to, as I said, some road games, but they come to games, and they're a part of, you know, they're a part of my job, and I want to allow them to see what keeps me away. So definitely important. And I think for those who are in roles who are hiring, you know, female in positions, this is very important. You know, we want females to stay in the game and to take advantage of opportunities and in things that they're passionate about, but we also have to make it available and accommodating for them, that they can be and have other parts of their life included in that. On the other hand, I also feel it's important that my players here that are in this photo, that they're involved and they know, you know, I'm not just a hockey coach. I'm not just at the University of Toronto. They came out to my ceremony of being the honorary lieutenant colonel here at Casa Loma. And so I just, you know, it was awesome that they wanted to be a part of it, but you know, along with them, seeing my kids and sometimes skating with my kids or seeing them around the rink, that they know that there's more to my job, you know, more to me than just my job in being a coach. I'm also a mom, you know, I'm also a community member. I'm also a volunteer. So I think that that's important. And, you know, players in the past, you know, when I lost my mom and I lost my mother-in-law in the same year, my team actually at that time all came out to my mom's funeral, and you know, definitely supported me in that time. And so just having that and intertwining, you know, my work and my life, I think that that's important, and definitely is something I find very special. So moving on to this, and what works for me, and I'm not certain I should have what works for me. What helps me, I guess, continue in being able to find work-life balance. And these are a few things that basically help me kind of stay on track and try to keep that balance. Um, Sometimes saying no is saying yes to yourself, and I'm the kind of person that I feel like I have to say yes to everything, and I want to say yes to everything, but sometimes there's not enough time in a day. And just when I get asked if I can do something, and I look at my schedule, and it's like, okay, I've got my kids in the morning, I got my kids to school, I've got my commute downtown, I've got some meetings, I've got skill practice, I've got video, I've got practice from 7 to 9, meetings and email in there. And it's like, wow, yeah, I do have 2 hours. So, yep, I can fit you in. And it happens to me all the time, where sometimes you have to schedule in your me time to take care of yourself. And another thing that I'm not very good at, and that I'm constantly working on, is trying not to feel guilty about saying no. Trying not to feel guilty about some of the things that go on, I guess, with my kids. Um, you know, Bake sale, for example. It's okay that I bake Pillsbury cookies for their bake sale, although they question that they tell people it's homemade, but I think they're getting onto that. They know that I'm opening up the package to make them. It's okay that I don't cook a balanced, nutritious meal every night, that you know, I sometimes pick up meals on my way home for them. It's okay that I get frustrated with their homework and their online learning. It's okay that my kids do have more than 1 hour of screen time sometimes a night, or that they're playing video games. I often feel so guilty because I look at people and I feel oftentimes everybody's got it together, but I have to tell myself I can't feel guilty. Taking care of yourself taking care of yourself is productive. I feel that I always put myself kind of to the back, and I do have a medical condition. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and it does cause me some pain and discomfort. I'm on medication for that, but I still put everything else in front of myself often. And I have just, recently started to, take care of that and get to the doctor and really kind of put myself in front at times. And, just having that, if I'm not okay, then I'm not going to be a good coach, and I'm not going to be a good caregiver. I'm not going to be a good mother. And so really trying to work on taking care of myself. Staying on track and prioritizing. And this is where I think schedules really come into come into play. Staying on track of your schedules and scheduling in, family time. And I think it's taken me some time for that as well. But I do believe that when you have a schedule and you schedule in your family time, that it's much easier having it there and seeing it than, just, and making time for it, than just saying, hey, yeah, I'm going to take the kids out, or I'm going to go get my hair done, things like that. Put it in your schedule and prioritize. And I think one of the last things, I've mentioned it, previously, that just knowing that, no one is perfect. And when you're trying to manage this work-life balance, that nothing is ever going to be perfect. And, just believing that you are doing everything that you can do. to be the best that you can be, to be the best coach, to be the best parent. In my case, I think that's all you can do. Sometimes I think women, when they're, professionals in their careers, and I can speak for myself, I always want to be the best. I always want things to be perfect, but sometimes they're not going to be, and you have to be okay with that. But striving for that is, will help and make you successful. So I just, again, wanted to share some of the things that, I think about all the time to try to manage my work-life balance. And it's not always perfect, as in one of my previous slides. There's sometimes it sways either way, but as long as you're trying to do your best. And I think that the main thing is with this presentation is that I hope that some of these things resonate with you in your career or will resonate in the future. But I believe that if you are passionate about your sport, you'll find a way to balance work, to balance life. And this will help you stay in the game and have the success that you set out to have. So I wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity and sharing my story. As not perfect as it seems, I do think it has helped me along my path and in my journey. So through all this, I'm just wondering if there are any questions. I've spoken a lot.
Thank you so much, Vickie, for providing us more insight on establishing and ensuring a work-life balance. I really enjoyed you talking about how your life experiences have made you the person you are today. And I really love your point about trying not to feel guilty. And I think that's something we can all learn from. We do have a few questions here. So our first question, Melissa asks, can you think of any examples of times when you had to say no to an opportunity as a coach because ultimately you felt that it was in the best interest of your family?
Yeah, I mean, there's been many times that I've been asked to, and it really is. It's more so sometimes events, and I often look at the schedule, and I have said no to some events that have conflicted with my kids' sports, things that I can think about most recently. Yes, I could miss my kids' game to go and to be at an event, a different event, or go run a practice. But I oftentimes choose, and that's in my schedule, to be there for my kids. And I think for the most part, people are very, very understanding, and, just working with them, perhaps we can do it at a different time. But I think in the past, I've often chosen to miss my kids' events and to go and do something that was asked of me, but definitely something that I've worked on and tried to balance and tried to accommodate.
What changes has COVID made, with the changes COVID has made to sport this year? I'm sure many of your athletes and other athletes are struggling to adjust to the changes in their classes and finding ways to reintroduce sport back into their lives now that restrictions are being lifted. What advice would you give to them, and have you given to your athletes?
Well, I do find that it has been extremely challenging, and we've tried, and I guess it really depends on where you live as well. So being in Toronto, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to get back into the gym or get back onto the ice, and I think just trying to remain active as much as possible. We do some Zoom workouts, to watch even, to videos. And I have been doing a lot of professional development online in seminars, and we're encouraging our student athletes to watch hockey, to watch some videos, because there's so many things that you can learn, about, well, as in this conference, there's so much to learn virtually, and so I think that's one aspect. And I think on the other hand, without having those, being able to practice with your teams or things like that, just finding new creative ways, whether it's, doing things in your basement, doing things outside, going for runs, things like different training when you're not training with your team. I believe that there's definitely gains that can be made during this time, and different things, as I spoke about, that may not have we may not have had the time for without this pandemic. So looking at these things as opportunities is how we like to put them.
Thank you for that answer. Melissa asked, do you have any mentors or role models at your institution who have helped you when you became a youth sports coach or mom?
Yes, definitely. And I spoke about our athletic director. She was a national team field hockey coach. So right away when I began, I didn't know how to kind of how to, I guess, balance the two, and how I was going to be able to be a successful coach and be a successful mom and parent at the same time. And she had just said that, she gave me a lot of her experiences that she had. And so definitely a mentor in that way, as to allow them to be a part of what you're doing. Because if you shut them out and they don't understand why mom's away, that it makes it more difficult, and they may find some resentment in you leaving to go do your job and to be a coach. So and it's not like I've got it figured out. I took on the role with the national team, so I'm kind of juggling a little bit, the University of Toronto, and I'm spending a lot of time at camps and preparing with the national team program. And I really tried to talk to my kids, to my boys, about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and try to include them in the journey, in my journey, and hopefully that they'll be a part of that. And I intended for them to come and be a part of the World Championships, but with the pandemic, I don't know if that's going to be possible.
Thank you for that. I think we have time for a few more questions. So I know me and a couple of other girls on my team are interested in joining the armed forces. And I really wanted to ask you, like, as a predominant member of the hockey community and honorary lieutenant colonel of the armed forces, what type of struggles have you come across based on your ethnicity and gender?
Well, yeah, it's interesting, because my communications, when I first met with the Queen's Own Rifles, I met with the commanding officer and the regimental sergeant major, and they were the ones that approached me and said that they see similarities between being a high performance athlete, now a coach, and being involved with their regiment and being in the army and things like that. And so I told them that I didn't have I didn't have a background, I wasn't familiar with a lot in the army. And they said they wanted me to be a part, because they, along with my experiences, that they are really trying to recruit females and people of color into the armed forces. So I think with that, I took it as an opportunity to show and to be there when I speak about it, that, you can be a woman and be in the Army. You can be a person of color. You can, everybody has that opportunity. And so, again, I haven't been in this position for very long, but I just, from what I've learned and from what I've seen, I think that, they've done a much better job of the Army in general, of incorporating people of color, but that the gender issue and having, more women, I think, is what's really important. So I would encourage everybody to possibly, if that's something that they're interested in, to follow that, because there's so many opportunities as well.
So much. I think we can do one more question. What challenges have you noticed that women face in all of the fields that you're in to break the glass ceiling while still maintaining this work-life balance?
I think that there's always challenges. I sit on it's the NHL Coaches Association, and there's a big group of women coaches that meet often and talk about, breaking those barriers. And I know that a lot of barriers have been broken. I know Jana in her presentation this morning spoke about all the opportunities and all the roles available. And I just think it's, continuing what I try to do is to try to, keep learning every day, learning from others, and building your foundation and trying to be the best you can be. And if it's for, in my field, if coaching in the NHL is something that's important to you, if things come up, apply. I do believe that women have so much, what's the word I'm looking for? They have so many qualities and so many strengths, and they have so much, oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought, but they have so much behind them, that they are fully qualified to coach in these situations. But sometimes we don't think that we should apply, or, we should be, applying for this. We're just waiting for opportunities to arise. I too I'm excited and hoping that there's going to be a professional women's hockey league where there'll be, professional women's coaches that are making a living wage, being able to coach. I know that there's opportunities to coach in universities, coach colleges, and there's, as I said, going back to Jana's, there's many opportunities that were traditionally held by men. Women are breaking down barriers all the time, because they have that experience. They have the credentials, and on top of it, they probably have more with balancing being, parents as well, being moms, and they're able to bring that. And so I just, I don't see it as being, being a mom as being, something that is or should be held against you. I think it adds to your resume.
Vickie, I completely agree. Your talk this afternoon has been absolutely amazing. Thank you everyone for joining us. Now you can exit and go to the sessions button to click to the next live event, which should begin at 2:40.
Thank you.